These are my prop glasses because I want to look as studious as I can, because I came up with some amazing Walking Dead spin-off ideas that are much better than the ones that we've recently had announced, those being the Walking Dead Dead City, which is Maggie and Negan, those being the Rick ones, as well as the Daryl spin-off. So yeah, we already have those announcements, and if you want to know how I feel about them, you could click on this video here where I talk about why I don't care about those spin-offs. So me, being as studious as I can with these glasses here, I decided to come up with my own spin-offs, and these weren't written by ChatGPT or anything like that. These were written by my cranium, because honestly, I think any one of us, me and you, could come up with better spin-off ideas than what was already announced. So let me take these off so we don't have as much glare, because I don't actually need these for this video, but let's take a deep dive into 4 spin-off ideas that I have that I think would just be better than what we currently have. So let's take a look. So to sum up, my main problem that I have with the Walking Dead spin-offs that are announced as of right now is that we're separating the characters, and I don't think that serves a good purpose, because what we really want as fans is all of them to be in one place together to reunite with Rick. So having Maggie and Negan off somewhere, having Daryl in France, God knows how and why that even happened, and having Rick and Michonne be in Philadelphia at the Civic Republic, it just, I don't get it. What really we should be getting is, if anything, a reunion season with all of them together, but no, maybe that's down the road. Thank you so much, Scott Gimple. So I just don't like that everyone's separated, and I think there are ways that you can make really compelling Walking Dead spin-offs without everyone being separated. So the first one that I have on my list, and this is the biggest one, so I'm going to start with the biggest one. I'm going to come out swinging, but you may want to stay till the end because all of them are pretty awesome. This one I just think is the most important one, and that is a 1-for-1 comic adaptation in cartoon form, pretty much identical to how Invincible is. If you've never seen Invincible, it's another Robert Kirkman comic that was adapted into a cartoon form, but it's pretty much a 1-for-1 adaptation. The same style of art, the same literally like verbatim conversations that they have between the comics and the show, and just all around it's a 1-for-1 comic adaptation just brought to screen. I want to see the exact same thing for The Walking Dead, like splitting image, same exact art style, same exact story, like no change to the story at all. Same characters, meaning in this version, no Daryl, no Carol because she doesn't even live that long. Morgan would be the same as he is in the comics, yada yada. The whole list goes on. I want exactly the comic story told in comic story form, just on a TV medium, so it's really just a cartoon, but I want it to look like The Walking Dead. I want it to be exactly how it is, and I really think from a budgetary standpoint, because as we've learned recently, AMC is not doing that well overall, I think this would actually be a pretty feasible thing to do from a budget standpoint, because realistically, you don't have to spend big money on special effects. You have to pay for the artists, you have to pay for the actors, and, you know, of course, the doing of the artwork and things like that, but overall, you don't have as much of a budget to spend. So when you're doing things like Alpha's Horde, which was a budgetary constraint on the Walking Dead television show, you could do it with no problem because you're just drawing it out in the Walking Dead cartoon version that I want to make and things like that. Shiva, you don't have to worry about CGI for. That stupid deer that was in, season 6 of The Walking Dead that was clearly CGI, that wouldn't exist anymore, you know what I mean? That wouldn't exist at all because that didn't even happen in the comics. But overall, I think we need a return to Walking Dead form and a 1-for-1 comic adaptation that would literally just be the comics just over TV, that it's not like flipping a page, it's actually like fully animated, but it's the same story. That would serve so well, man. I want all the same moments to happen. I don't want Judith to be a thing. I want Carl to actually, spoiler alert, I want Carl to actually live, you know, like I want all of that stuff. I want it all to work. And I think that's easy enough to do, and I don't understand why they don't do it. But anyway, that's the first one on my list. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of cartoons and things like that, but when they're done right, they're awesome. Just like Invincible. Invincible is a great comic adaptation that's just pretty much the same thing, just in actual motion picture form instead of just, reading on a page. And that's great. I love that medium. But anyway, the next one up on my list, and you know what, before I get fully into it, is I just want to preface by saying a lot of you, I did a poll recently, and a lot of you seemed not to like Morgan Jones. So if you don't like Morgan Jones, I understand why many people wouldn't think this is a great idea, but I happen to love Morgan Jones, and I think he was wasted on Fear. He is not a bad character, but the writers made him a bad character, and that is extremely unfortunate because he was literally ran over to Fear, and he got ran over. His character got ran over in the process. Regardless, what I think they should do is a clean slate, and they should do a Morgan Jones prequel. And what do I mean by that? Well, I want to see what happened to him at the start of the outbreak when him, Ginny, and Dwayne were together and the outbreak started and all of that stuff. And specifically, I want Easter eggs in there of like the first episode when Morgan and Rick are in Rick's house and he's talking about his wife looking for grabbing pictures before they left and all of that stuff. I want those Easter eggs in there. Like I want the start of the outbreak. Then I want him to be finding Rick from his perspective, raising Dwayne on his own, losing Dwayne, having to cope with him losing his wife and Dwayne as well, then him going mentally insane in clear mode. I want to know what happened in that story. That is such a fascinating story that was never explored. I would love to explore that. It wouldn't take away from the main franchise at all. It would just be an added bonus, kind of like Better Call Saul, right? A lot of people didn't love Saul. A lot of people don't like Morgan, to be honest with you, but a lot of people didn't like Saul in Breaking Bad. Yeah, they did. He was comic relief, but the idea of him having a prequel just was like, what? How would you even make that work? And then we got a straight up masterpiece. And honestly, we could get the same exact thing with a Morgan Jones prequel because there is so much cool stuff to explore in the clear mode and like how he was. And that set piece in clear, how did he build that? Why did he build that? Who were the people he met that he had to kill and things like that? I would love to see that story. And then him getting out of it, him meeting Eastman, exploring the Eastman dynamic a little bit more, and finally ending essentially with him meeting back up with Rick in Alexandria. There's just so much of Morgan to explore after Rick and Morgan lost contact because they were away from each other in the radio. That whole storyline was just so neat, and it opened so many doors for questions that we never really got. I think there's so much potential there for a good spinoff. AMC, if you like the sound of that, hire me. No, not really. I don't know if I want to work for AMC. Anyway, not that I ever would, but yeah, that's the Morgan Jones prequel that I would love to see. So anyway, the next one that I want to see, and this one I think is a no-brainer, to be completely honest with you, is Tales of the Walking Dead, but better. And what do I mean by that? Well, as you know, Tales of the Walking Dead started with 6 episodes, and only one was decent. To be honest, well, no, 2 were decent. The very first episode was all right, and then the alpha episode was all right, but it didn't really get any better than that. Blair and Gina, terrible episode. Like, what even was that? Terrible episode. And then the other episodes, the tourist one and all that stuff, it's just abysmal. Like, how did they think that this was a good pilot run for a season? These 6 episodes, they were terrible. What they really should be is Tales of the Walking Dead should be literally Tales of the Walking Dead. And I'm not talking about random characters out in the universe, which would be cool if they were good stories, but no, I'm talking about tales of the real characters. Instead of maybe a Morgan Jones prequel show, maybe we just get a Morgan Jones prequel episode, which would be fine, even though I think it would make for a better show to have a prequel. But maybe we just get a Morgan Jones prequel episode. Maybe we get a Madison Clark episode. Maybe we get, I don't know, an Aaron episode, one of his adventures being out on the run with Aaron, or Eric, I should say. That is what Tales of the Walking Dead should be, but it just wasn't. We got one episode where it kind of was, and that was the alpha episode. And I think, in theory, that's what they were going for with the show, but something must have happened where they couldn't get certain people. And look what we got. We got a straight up horrible season of TV. It was just stupid. And some of the episodes were, sure, they were a little bit enjoyable. Fine. But really, you could do things like Here's Negan on Tales of the Walking Dead. You could do things like a story of Carl from when Rick was out like a light, and, you know, in season 4, when he was out beat up and he was just sleeping. You could tell a story of like Carl then, even though Chandler Riggs is much older. You could do a Michonne episode before she met Andrea. Like, there's just so much you could do that was completely not tapped into. And I do think season 2 should be renewed. Like, I think they should make a Tales of the Walking Dead season 2, and it should be like this. It really should. If it's another season where it's just random characters, no one's going to watch it. I'd honestly, I'd be surprised if this even gets renewed, but that's a story for another day. Anyway, that's my third idea. And then the last and final idea that I have for a Walking Dead spinoff would be Actually Here's Negan. Duh, to be honest with you, duh. Except the thing that I really care about here is not just the Here's Negan episode where it was him and Lucille. I want to see everything after that. I want to see him go from losing Lucille to finding and forming the Saviors, him in the Saviors, leading the Saviors, just more into that storyline and the all-out war from his perspective. I want to see all these things. I think it is such a compelling story. Instead of Dead City with Maggie and Negan, which, to be fair, is a good idea. I still like that idea on paper is pretty good, even though I don't care about it. But instead of something like that, let's do something that doesn't really interfere with future Walking Dead IP and instead is just an enhancement of the current Walking Dead IP. Right now, all we're doing is future stories that I don't think make any sense when our all common interest is seeing Rick reunite with all those characters. If that's what we want to do, this is being done completely wrong, in my opinion. I don't think it's right that we're doing it this way, but a really good way to alleviate that is to just do a spinoff like Here's Negan. Just do it. Something like that would be so awesome to see. At this point, we're probably not going to see something like that because we already have one spinoff with Negan, which is the Maggie and Negan one. And honestly, by that point, I wouldn't be surprised if Jeffrey Dean Morgan is burnt out from playing on The Walking Dead, but one could dream, right? I think this would be an awesome show. And honestly, if Jeffrey Dean Morgan in the future doesn't want to reprise his role as Negan, they could also go the comic cartoon route, just like what I'm talking about with a one-for-one comic adaptation. They could always do that. That would be great. And to be honest with you, what really would be great, and this is technically my number 5, but it's not a show idea, but my number 5 would be that AMC lost the rights to The Walking Dead. I really do think they should. I think AMC has completely dropped the ball. I don't know who's pulling the strings there to make these things the reality. I know it's Scott Gimple, kind of, but I know there's more to it and things like that. Overall, the point I'm making here is I don't know what they're thinking with these spinoffs. I do have a feeling that they are going to inevitably lead to like a season 12 of The Walking Dead reunion. I do think that's probably inevitable and will happen. They all have to lead to something because there's 3 separate stories. They have to somehow merge, but I have no faith that they're going to do it right after the current series of spin-offs that they already have, such as Fear the Walking Dead, World Beyond, which is a horrible show. Not even just bad for The Walking Dead, it's just horrible, and Tales of the Walking Dead. If you have those 3, I have no confidence that your current 3 spin-offs will be good. I really think fresh ideas coming from other people outside of AMC who have their thumbs up their you-know-whats, I think it would make for really good stories, but we're not going to see it. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'll ever see something like that in my lifetime from this franchise. I wish I would, but these are a couple spinoffs that I really think would be better than the ones we're getting right now. And I honestly want to hear from you. I want to know what you guys think would make for a great spinoff. So let me know in the comments. Let's start a healthy discussion about that. I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with, and I will be commenting back if we have some good ideas. Let's open up an awesome conversation. With that out of the way, thank you so much for watching this video. Like it if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.